Hello, I have been asked to show how I make beef jerky. I'm going to show you my recipe for making beef jerky. It's roughly based on the one from Alton Brown from Good Eats when he did Urban Preservation 2, but I'm going to show you my twist. All right, we need to start with a zip top bag. This is a gallon size zip top, and I like to roll the edges over so that no meat gets on the zip top, and then I flatten out the bottom so we have a nice sturdy place to put everything and it's not gonna fall over. So the first thing we start with is some garlic powder, about a tablespoon or so, some onion powder, about the same amount. Then we go to cumin. You can add more if you like the taste of cumin. Chili powder. Then we add our red pepper flake, more if you like it spicy. We have salt, a generous amount. I don't ever measure the salt, but I assume it's maybe about a teaspoon or so. And then same with the black pepper. I just grind it in fresh until it looks like enough. If you like it peppery, add more pepper. If you don't like it as peppery, don't add as much pepper. So that is it for the dry ingredients. Now we need the wet ingredients. So we're gonna start with maybe about a half a cup of apple cider vinegar, which is going to keep the bacteria away. We've got lime juice, which is also acidic but delicious. Then we have some Worcestershire sauce, which adds a little extra flavor and also some acidity, along with some liquid smoke. That's just for extra yummy flavor. This is green Tabasco, which I love the flavor of. And lastly, we have at least a half a cup of soy sauce. You can use more. I like tamari. I like the flavor of it the best. So the last ingredient is actually the honey. Honey will keep it from drying out too much and will add a little bit of delicious flavor. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Don't miss out on a bit of that honey. So that does it for the wet ingredients. So the next thing we need to do is mix all of this up. The honey tends to stay in one place, so you need to sort of massage the bag to get all of the honey to spread out to all of the areas of the bag. That way every piece of meat is going to get as much delicious marinade as it can. So let's talk about the meat. I've been buying bottom round roast, and I get it already cut into steaks because I can. I buy it at Aldi. It's already cut, makes it a lot easier. So once you have washed your hands very thoroughly and you have quite a sharp knife, then we are going to slice this up a little bit more. We're going to want to have it into slices that are about the size of a piece of bacon. So since this is already sliced one way, I'm going to go ahead and stack up all my slices. And then once I have all my slices stacked up, I'm going to go ahead and start slicing it. Again, I want my slices to be about the size of a strip of bacon, or maybe even a little skinnier than a strip of bacon, and I'm going to slice all of those up. Once I have them all sliced, I am going to start separating them as I put them into the bag of marinade. If I just put them all in there without separating them, they won't all hit the marinade, and then they won't all be ready. So I'm going to wash my hands again, then I'm going to flip the bag back right side in, close it on up, get most of the air out of there, and then this is the most fun part. This is where you get to massage the bag. You really want to make sure every single piece of meat has as much marinade on it as possible, because the marinade is not only what makes it taste good, but it's also what keeps the bacteria away when we dry our meat. So that looks about good. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the air out of the bag, every bit of the air as possible out of there, so that as it marinades, all of the marinade is only touching the meat and there's no air touching that meat. So now I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator for 4 to 6 hours. If I leave it less than 4 hours, it won't be ready. And if I leave it more than 4 hours, more than 4 to 6 hours, then it'll get too brittle as I dry it. So it's been about 6 hours since the jerky was put into the marinade. Now, I like to now roll the bag the opposite way because this way when I reach into the bag, my arms don't get covered in marinade. By the way, I already drained the marinade out of this bag into the sink. So I have here a kitchen cloth. You can also use paper towels if you want to. And now I'm going to lay out all the jerky evenly in one layer on the kitchen cloth. And then I'm going to pat it dry. This is one of the most important steps. If you don't pat it dry thoroughly, it's like getting out of the shower with sopping wet hair and then turning on the blow dryer and wondering why it's taking so long to dry your hair. You need to get every single bit of marinade possible off of the jerky before you put it on the dryer, because we're not drying with heat. We are drying with cold air. So we need to towel dry our meat just like you would towel dry your hair. In the Alton Brown recipe, he used furnace filters. Well, I couldn't find furnace filters like he said, especially not at the price he said. So I already had these trays for a dehydrator. So I just used the trays for the dehydrator, but not the actual dehydrator part. So I am going to lay my strips of marinated meat on the dehydrator trays, and I'm going to leave a little room in between each one of them for air to flow through. Once I'm finished with all of the trays, I am going to take a towel that's called a flour sack. If you can see, it's kind of a loosely woven, but not quite as loose as a cheesecloth, so air can get through this. This is what I'm going to use as a filter. This will keep anything that might be in the air, like dust or any little particulates or bugs or anything, away from our jerky while it's drying. So I like to wrap this around my trays like a big giant diaper, and I try to wrap it pretty tightly. And I take a big giant binder clip. I'm a teacher, so of course I have binder clips. And I just clip that together. That way I feel like my jerky is going to stay nice and clean while it's on my fan. So let me show you how the fan is set up. Yeah. So you just need a fan that you can set straight up and down like this. I set it here, turn on the fan. And that's it. I just leave it. I start checking on it after about 12 hours. It's usually done by 18 hours. At the very longest, if you have some really thick pieces, they might need 24 hours. But the honey that we put in there will keep it from getting too dried out. And the salt and the vinegars that we put in there are going to keep it from having any bacteria grow. So I'll catch you back here in 12 to 24 hours.
Also, it makes the entire house smell like,
delicious.
Like beef jerky.
Which is delicious. Ah. All right, it's been about 24 hours. So, and I've checked on this several times, and I actually didn't film it, but during the time it was drying, I flipped the racks one time just to make sure everything was drying evenly. So now I can turn off the fan and reveal the delicious treats. Oh yeah. So the nice thing about this type of jerky is it's still, I mean, it looks just like regular jerky, and it's just perfect jerky, but it's never had any heat on it. So it's just, so good. I'm not gonna put that back there. So I have an airtight container, which apparently still had some water in it because I washed it. So I'm going to take these out, put them in the airtight container after I get all that water out of it that I just put in there, because you can't have any water. And that's that. You've got a perfect jerky recipe. Thank you for watching.
Like and subscribe.
Make sure and subscribe and hit that bell icon.